Greg Palcott with Fox News joining us now live to break down the latest details. Good morning, Greg. What do we know so far about all of this?
Josh, this plane incident is quite a remarkable story and with lessons for all of us. I'll get to that in a moment. What happened? It happened Tuesday night, Japanese time, at the Haneda Airport, Tokyo's busiest airport. A Japanese airline plane with 379 on board, including crew, was landing on one runway there at that airport. But what happened is that there was another plane, a small Japanese Coast Guard plane, sitting on that same runway ready to take off. When the JAL, the Japanese airline plane, hit the Coast Guard plane, it burst into flames. Remarkably, the pilots team of the Japanese airline plane was able to steer it down the runway while it was on fire, bring it to a halt, and then while smoke was filling the cabin, informed all of its passengers to leave by just 2 emergency ramps at the front of the plane. And remarkably, Josh, they all got off. No one was killed. No one, by the way, carried any carry-on luggage with them down those ramps as well. The crew was also saved. We understand there was about 17, 18 injuries, but minor compared to what could have happened. Sadder was the Japanese Coast Guard plane. The 5-man crew was killed. The pilot was seriously injured, and this was a Coast Guard plane that had been doing relief runs from that airport over to the earthquake-stricken area in the western side of Japan. But just to close out this story, I think for your viewers, I think there's a good lesson here. Number one, these passengers took the orders. Number two, the crew gave the orders. Number three, they didn't bring any bags along. And number four, they all got off alive. When you see the plane that was soon after that completely engulfed in flames, you realize what a miracle this was, Josh.
Definitely a miracle, because the video that we have does show the massive flames that sparked, and it looked like it took crews a while to get that fire out. Now, I do want to talk a little bit more about the earthquake that happened in Japan. Another major headline here, as we know that dozens of people are confirmed dead. There is extensive damage, and it looks like rescuers are still out there combing through the rubble, trying to find any sign of any survivors. What is the latest there?
Absolutely. It's the most serious earthquake to hit Japan since 2016. A lot of earthquakes hit Japan, but this one was serious. The death toll now at 55, and it's feared that it will rise. Dozens injured as well. It happened in the western coast of the country, Ishikawa region, or prefecture as they call it. It hit on New Year's Day, and since then, more than 24 hours, there have been something like 200 aftershocks. It destroyed houses, buildings, roadways, caused small tsunamis, but they did some damage as well. There was fear also for the several nuclear plants that are in the area, but there was no damage done there. The Prime Minister of Japan is saying, though, it's a race against time, because there are certain areas, there's sort of a peninsula sticking out in the Japan Sea where the much of the earthquake was centered in, and there are some towns that still have not been reached by some 3,000 rescue people, that is Army, police, and first responders, and they are working to get people who are still, it is believed, are stuck under the rubble or sadly who have passed because of this situation. So it's an important and a serious earthquake that's got the entire country of Japan mobilized, as well as the world. President Biden offered a message overnight to Japan that the United States would provide any kind of necessary help that they would require. Of course, there's a big U.S. military presence on Japan and in the region that could take part in any rescue efforts. But yes, a serious earthquake, aftershocks still being felt. The initial quake was 7.6 on the Richter scale, and that's pretty strong stuff, Josh.
Yeah, and several aftershocks, as we mentioned here. So Greg Palcott there with Fox News following both of those big headlines out of Japan. Greg, thank you so much for joining us here to give us the latest details. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, everybody, and I do want to take you to this video right here that is coming in from our Fox 5 New York station, as an earthquake was reported in New York City this morning and may have prompted reports of an explosion there on East River's Roosevelt Island. Again, this is video provided there by our Fox 5 New York station as they did fly overhead. Now, the U.S. Geological Survey did report a 1.7 magnitude earthquake near Astoria, Queens, and this comes hours after fire crews did respond to reports of a, quote, building shaking and explosion there on Roosevelt Island. You can see in that aerial image just how many crews did show up. Now, we know that no explosion was confirmed, and the USGS said that no injuries or damage was reported as a result of that small earthquake. Now, Georgette Sinclair, who is a resident there, told our Fox 5 New York station, quote, about 5:45 or so, all of a sudden I felt my bed moving and the building moving and a very loud sound. I woke up and thought there was an earthquake. Calls were received just before 6 a.m. local time for the reports at 580 Main Street, which is just south of Roosevelt Island Bridge and Tram. Skyfox, as you can see, flying overhead, showing several emergency response vehicles, and several tweets across the social media platform X reported people saying that they woke up from that loud noise and they felt their building start to shake. It is unclear if the source of that reported explosion was the earthquake, and it's also unclear if residents in other parts of New York City would have felt the tremors there. Again, at this point, crews are trying to place all that together, piece it together, and figure out if the shaking was caused by that earthquake.